Welcome to Awaken the Mind,
Relax.
the NLP and Hypnosis Guide, hosted by David Uhas.
You need to understand. If you can't, you must. And if
You're listening to Awaken the Mind, the NLP and Hypnosis Guide, a podcast that inspires the curious to the professional to discover meaningful content and pursue their passions. My name is David Uhas, and I'm a master NLP practitioner and hypnotist, best known for losing over 100 pounds and running 6 marathons in 2 years. And I'm sitting down with hypnotists, NLP practitioners, and coaches to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact in the lives of others. Our guest today is Mia Saenz. Mia directly connects people to their inner divine core, discovering their true self. Her expertise is in transformation and healing childhood and adult trauma, so each person can create the extraordinary life that is divinely theirs. People have shifted from depression and lack of self-esteem to a healthy sense of confidence and self-worth to victoriously face life's challenges and see life's beauty. Through her work as a love teacher and coach, Mia has discovered the depth of love on all levels. Love is the gold the alchemists were seeking. Working through love opens the connection to have all of life's purpose flow, which includes love, money, and abundance. Mia works with people who desire to grow in their spiritual path, building a concrete foundation in all areas of life. Mia teaches love mastery. Mia is also a media host and the founder and editor-in-chief of Bella Mia Magazine, a transformational and holistic living well magazine. Please welcome Mia Saenz. Hi, Mia.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, it is an honor to have you here. I'm just blown away with all that you have done with your coaching, and the magazine is just so beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that.
Thank you. Bella Mia is a really beautiful magazine, and its purpose is to focus in on self-love, inner awareness. It's wonderful. There's nothing out there like it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what you do, and you had said you're a business strategist and also a spiritual love teacher and also a spiritual elite coach. Am I saying that right?
You are.
Okay, great.
And so I've been in the business world about, I'll just say 30 plus years. People don't believe it, but I have.
I don't believe that. You look like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old.
Well, I got started when I was 18 and built my first business while I was in nursing school. I built it with my first husband, and it was a frozen food company. I've built 15 businesses. And that's why I'm a business strategist too, is because I also help other people build their business and actually get it going so they're making money, because most coaches teach in a niche form. And so they don't teach the overall expansion of somebody's business, whether it's brick and mortar, online, product line. And so most people are running around scratching their head or banging it on a wall going, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. So I've had many jobs, worn many hats. And what I've discovered is that it's my education. You know, it's part of my life that was my education, whether when I was a banker at an entertainment or whether I was selling medical supplies to movie studios, which was another business I had, a medical supply company. So it's so vast, from being a nurse to food to T-shirts to love to, you know, it's fabulous. And then the love work is because my heart is so aligned, I guess you'd say, with God, with love, with spirit, and it's who I am. And it's been my life's journey literally since I was little. That's part of stuff that you can discover somewhere else if you like. But we all have our own story, and we have to work through our story in order to have literally our whole psyche, which I call our Trinity, our body, mind, and spirit, moving together in succinctness, you know, so that it's smooth. We need to study the psychology of the human being, because that is what helps us in our business, in our love life, in our regular life. It helps us in every possible way. So when you mentioned the spiritual elite, that is my private one-on-one with clients, where we elevate their spiritual awareness into bringing out our natural gifts, which is, you know, people call them psychic abilities. And I don't like that word because it has a bad connotation. But being able to see and to shift the energy with people around to bring out their glorious gifts is really powerful. So that's me in a nutshell.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. I would love to hear more about business first. So I'm a coach and I used to want to do everything. And
yes, and we say no to that. Not if you're a coach.
that's right.
We don't build businesses just to have a million of them. We build one, we make it strong, and then we go to the next one if you want to do that. You never jump around, or you don't have 2 or 3 businesses growing at once. One has to become established before you do the other. When you focus your energy and attention on anything, you're taking it off of something else. And so that's why I built my love business. And then I started also on the spiritual elite when I was doing that too. Very quiet, hardly anyone knew. I was very much, and I still am pretty much, a word of mouth facilitator of those gifts. And then I built my business coaching, which had been also around for about 6 years privately. So it's interesting how we expand outward.
Talking about the spiritual love teacher, I would like to ask some questions about that. How about having a healthy relationship? What does that consist of?
Wow. It's really about, and it's also so simple, it's about each individual doing their own interpersonal work. So we don't want to bring garbage or crap, or we call it luggage, suitcase, baggage. We don't want to bring that into a relationship. And yet we all do, don't we? And we should not just say, I'm not going to experience life until I grow myself. Well, or people say heal themselves. No, enjoy your life. But as you create something beautiful, you're going to understand that the right person is coming to you. They're not there to hurt you or harm you. So as you grow, you're going to see the people that you've been bringing in that were negative. You're going to remove them. And it's really glorious. So that's how I believe, and I know that we create a kind of like a sustainable relationship with somebody. It's about growing. It's about being accepting. It's about tolerance, but it's not about dismantling who you are as an individual. You have to keep your passions alive. You have to keep your excitement. Life is worth living. And when you're in a relationship or coaching in this field, it's so vibrantly beautiful. It really is. I know that sounds funny to say that relationships can be vibrantly beautiful, but they are. And not everyone is perfect, as we know.
I can relate to that.
We all can. We all can.
So why does interpersonal support strengthen a relationship?
Well, when you do this work, it strengthens it because you become this pillar of strength. You are your own individual without all the garbage, without all the baggage. All your trauma has been worked on, or at least a majority of it, because what most people don't realize is trauma produces drama. We have to feel in our life, and that's why we bring out drama, because if we've had trauma, which everybody has had some form of trauma at some point in their life so they can understand it, the trauma is that incident that happened to our body or to our mind. You know, it's either the emotional, the physical, or the mental abuse that has happened to us. And so in order to feel alive, what do we do? What do we do as people? We regurgitate it up over and over and over, and we feel traumatized, and we're victimizing ourselves so much more. But well, let me say, and this is where the drama comes in, because we have to feel. But when you work on this stuff, not only does it get removed out of your system, I call it changing, or love changes the energy of our story. So it's not just about changing that energy, but it's about, well, it is about deflating that, all the trauma, all the drama that's in there. When people used to hear my life story in the beginning compared to now, you can imagine 10 years ago when I started coaching love, that my story had a lot more sparks and fire to it. It was still pretty, I could still get through it without crying, because I've changed the energy of the trauma in my life.
Nice.
And so, so the support is within ourselves. We don't realize this. Nobody teaches us how to love. And that's what's so valuable. That's one of my missions. There are many, many love coaches out there that are not just about relationship. They're the interpersonal working, shifting, and changing of who we are. And with that change comes greatness from us, which supports our relationships. When we think about somebody that we love, whether it's a mate, a best friend, a child, somebody that we love, we want them to have greatness in their life. We don't want them to have anything less than. So why would we bring damage and harm to the people that we love? There's many ways of looking at self-growth, whether you want, and it all should go back to you first, but sometimes people need that little spur of connecting somebody else's energy to them in order to shift. For example, there's a woman, maybe she's in her 30s and she had been raped a couple of times and she's so fearful. She needs to work on that in order to trust going into another relationship. So all this interpersonal work makes us smooth. It smooths out those rough edges and it brings a lot more fun and joy and beauty and all these other great words that can support that. And it's true.
Now, when you work with clients, or do you work with couples, or how does that work?
Well, when I first started 10 years ago, I only worked with couples and I was also in a slightly different field. I was in the relationship field, and so I would teach men and women, couples, how to connect together. And even in the bedroom, not that I would be in there with them sexually, but I would be in there. We would work on positions and we'd all be dressed. Because there are people who cannot connect together, literally they can't connect together. They're either too rigid or, something's going on that they can't connect. So it's almost like yoga. When you learn how to relax into your poses, into your positions, into your own body, what happens? You have so much more fun. You're confident. Your partner thinks you're incredibly dynamic and lovely because you have that confidence. Confidence is sincerely the ultimate, aphrodisiac that there is, because these women who say, oh, I'm not beautiful enough, or I'm not this, or I'm too heavy, or I'm too that, you say, no, honey. I say that. I say, I'm a plus size girl. Look at me. I can do it. You can do it. It's about who you are, the confidence. That really is the biggest excitement, I think.
Well, that leads me to, is sex important?
Sex is very important. If it's important to an individual, it's important to the relationship. There are people so I used to call this it was the medium, cool, medium, and then caliente, the super hot, and so we have to have matching partners, more or less, in the passions, in the heatness of who we are. If you have somebody who is a cool, kind of like, it doesn't really matter and isn't into sex, and you have somebody who's spicy and hot, they're not going to be meeting in the bedroom very often. And one person's going to be feeling like they're left out from the other. So sex is incredibly important to relationships. And if couples, no matter if there's gender bias or not, whether it's man and woman or man and woman and woman, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you both want the same type of things. I do believe that our sexual taste, our behaviors are very important to be in alignment with our mates, because we live a long life. And guess what happens when we're not having what we want? We go seek it somewhere else, or there's trouble, there's fights that start, there's divorces that come from it, there's all sorts of things. So sex is incredibly important. If it's important to one partner, it has to be important to both partners. If neither partner cares, that's okay. Then you guys are in the clear. But you can't have a tree that grows only on one side. What would happen? It would fall over. There's no balance. So you have to have your balance in all relationships and in the bedroom.
How can two people in a long-term relationship keep it alive? Now, remember, this is a G-rated show. So go as far as we can go.
There are so many beautiful ways to keep your love life alive. And it doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in your mind. Our mind is the biggest sex organ we have. And when we understand that, oh my God, that's where the heat comes from. Because passionate people and boys or men think about sex all the time. So believe it or not, a woman who is passionate and heated, she thinks about sex a lot too, which men don't realize. You guys think that you're the only ones. Granted, we don't necessarily think about it for every 10 seconds. We don't think about it. But we do think about it for longer than 10 seconds. We could think about it for 10 minutes or 10 hours on a constant because we're women and we do those things. I sort of got off the topic there.
That's okay. Quality versus quantity. I got it.
Yeah. So it literally is about matching each other and being, be aware of this. This is something that I've seen over my beautiful lifetime. And it's been a little long at times, but this is what I've seen. I've been with partners who have been incredibly sensual and sexual, and I've been with partners who haven't. Well, guess who stays around and who doesn't, literally, because there has to be a smoothness. I was once with a partner who wasn't sexually excited, or he was excitable, but he was dealing with his own stuff. But what happened was, I felt like so I can talk about this from a personal side too, which I was shocked when it happened because I'm like, me? This could happen to me? So what happens in a situation like that where one wants to have an intimacy and the other one either can't produce it or something happens, if that partner that can't produce an erection or whatever, or the female, whatever it is, whether it's the man or the woman, it doesn't matter. You still need to give to your partner. Be a part of that experience. That's how relationships stay alive. If you sexually can't be together because one person is not able at the time, doesn't mean that their heart and their mind isn't into it. Their body's not functioning. Now, if you've got it where somebody just doesn't want to be a part of it, then you have a really big problem. And that happens more than not, if that makes sense. Meaning that it's not an equal level playing field. One person is really excitable all the time and the other person's not. And either way, there's really no judgment. We shouldn't be judging our partners or anybody. Right. It's hard and it hurts, but we shouldn't be judging at all.
So is it communication or what is it?
Right. How do we get there? Yes. Okay. So there's so many ways to begin this. There's texting, and I don't recommend texting when you're dating, people that you're not really familiar with. But when you're in a relationship, you send some sexy text to your man or woman, and you guys get that going back and forth. That creates heat. I also, I was once with a partner who had a very sexual appetite. And so he was on a sex schedule because I wanted to make sure that he was happy. There's different ways to prepare and to be aware of this stuff. Sending flowers, leaving notes, making somebody something special. These are ways to prepare before. This is the foreplay. And this is how to prepare before you even get into the bedroom. So we talked about the brain being the largest sex organ. It is so clever, our brain. If we're thinking about our partner in a sweet, lovely way, we can spend all this time. At least I know I do. And I'm assuming that women are more like me than men. So as we imagine or get ourselves ready, that's part of the whole sexual act. This is what makes us stimulated to go forward. So there's so much. You can think about, you tell me one thing in your day and I can tell you how to make it sexual. You know what I mean? As far as
I work on elevators.
Okay. Well, people do like to turn those off and have some private time. So, you can think about that stuff with your woman, trapping her in an elevator and having fun.
I think there's an Aerosmith song about that. Love in an elevator.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I'm blushing. But I'm enjoying this. Thank you. Okay, so is it okay to separate or divorce if things don't work out?
Of course. We live in a puritanical country. So the United States, Canada, the UK, all the English-speaking countries were formed from from the Puritans. Literally, they shipped us off, or they shipped people off. They also did it, the British did it to Australia. That used to be a prison. So they'd send, the people from prison off to Australia to get them off, the little island of England. And so we got in the United States and Canada, we can't forget about Canada. Literally, Canada is closer to us than we even realize in all our history. We did it together, and then a border went up. So when we came here, we were taught that sex was awful, was icky, was, husband and wife shouldn't even be sleeping in the same bed unless they're super poor, that kind of thing. And there were religions created that would keep people apart. Look at the Quakers. They died out. I know that they're still around, their sect, but they pretty much died out a couple hundred years ago because they didn't live together. They didn't live in the same home. They would come together to procreate. There's nothing that makes us want to procreate if there's no stimulation and excitement. So we're based upon, the Puritans, and we don't want to. The thought is that it's nasty, it's dirty, it's this and that. We have to get out of that. There is nothing wrong with divorce, with separation, with trying things out. That's religion that tells us that we have to do it and stay within a certain way. What is religion? It's a spiritual concept or idea created by man, not by God. And so it could be just like Mia. She has her own church, and one day it may be the most famous church in the world. Who knows, a religion. As you can see, I joked about that, but it literally is one human coming together and people follow, like being Lutheran. Luther was very much about, he was a man that created religion. We talk about Catholicism, and that is something that we can't actually pinpoint which person started the religion, which person became the first pope, and how that worked. We don't have much information because it's old as well on Muslims, and you get the idea that religion is an aspect of, we can't do certain things because it's been ordained by God, so to speak. When really, as I believe that we are a part of God, and so we're an infinite spiritual being blended with this beautiful human body. So our purpose here is to do what? Just like everyone else's, it's to grow our soul. So as we grow our soul, that means that it's my experience that I get to choose what's right for me. I was married when I was 18. I stayed with him for 27 years, and I took a vow for that, and I was faithful and honest in my vow. And then one day I realized that he was almost dead. Literally, he had lost his will to live, which, what do you think that does to the partner? It makes themselves lose that will to live until they practice their self-growth work. And then that's what elevates us out and brings us back to life, more or less. That's just a very common story, so that's why I shared it. My story is very common to humanity. Most humans have that experience where they wake up one day and they're like, wait a minute, I've been with you forever, and I don't even know who you are. It doesn't mean we didn't know who they were. We did. So whether we get a divorce or we separate or whatever our situation is, it's okay because we are love. We are beautiful beings that want to express our highest good and not be dictated by other beings or humans that say, you cannot divorce because you got married. And I seriously, strongly believe that.
Tell me about your grandma. She was a big influence in your life.
She was. And you have a great voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's a lot like Huell Hauser.
That's right.
That's right. My grandma, she was fabulous. So my grandmother was born Amish, but became a metaphysical practitioner and had many healings with, they called them patients back then, had many healings with patients. So when I was a young girl, I used to go with her to see her patients before I was, when I was really little, before I was in school or after school or on holidays. I did get to know a lot of her patients. And it's what inspired this love work. I mean, it's one aspect that inspired the love work that I do today. By standing in the place that God is love and that I am love and I am the reflection of God, what more can I ask for? I was born to a woman who was half crazy, literally. My mother is not mentally stable and never has been. And yet she came from my grandmother who was a metaphysical practitioner. So it's really interesting life, what we choose and where we go. And I love the work that my grandmother did. And as I mentioned, it really supported my growth along the way. I always wanted to be a teacher and a lecturer of metaphysics. And I didn't think that I could be. And then one day I realized, what do you think you're doing, girl? That's exactly it. It's who you are. So it's very cool.
I'd read on your website, was it your grandma that taught you about grace or gratitude practice? Maybe.
Gratitude. I was going to say I am grace. We're all grace when we express our divinity. Gratitude is a beautiful way in which it's the highest way that we can, one of the highest ways we can connect to the divine is to be in gratitude. Gratitude is also a very healing element. One, it elevates who we are when we're in gratitude. What do we feel? We feel at peace. We feel calm. We feel joy. We feel connected. We feel deeply, deeply loved. Why do we feel this way when we go into a gratitude practice? It's because our inner being is actually speaking to us and sharing with us what we know to be as true. So a gratitude practice can be as simple as saying 5 or 6 things that you're grateful for in the morning and at night without repeating it, so you won't say, I'm grateful for my breakfast. I'm grateful for my breakfast. I'm grateful for my breakfast. If you are so down and depressed, because I do work with people with depression, I've had depression myself before I shifted into this part of my life. Right. And so as we work with people, it's literally about knocking all that stuff away. Gratitude not only can elevate us up to feeling empowered and amazing, but it can have healings. One of my healings as a child was I had buck teeth and they stuck straight out. And I've never had braces, but I did go to an orthodontist when I was 9 years old. And I believe in integrity and honesty and all that stuff. And so he had said to me, when did you stop sucking your thumb? And I was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And if he looked down, which I'm sure he did, and saw that my thumb was still red and wrinkled, he knew that I was still sucking my thumb. And so I said, well, I stopped recently. I never put my thumb back in my mouth ever again to suck it. And so my grandmother worked with me about being grateful for the toothbrush, for the toothpaste, for all the things that God provides for me, and understanding that if I am the image and likeness of God, can my teeth be crooked? Could my teeth be bucked? Could they, be loose or wiggly or not a perfect mouth? I call them horse teeth. I have the greatest teeth not because of that, of course, probably because of genetics, but understanding who I am, which a couple years later, when I went into junior high, some of the girls were like, wow, when did you get your braces off? You have really pretty teeth. And I ran into the bathroom to see what they were talking about, and my teeth were straight. See, once I started giving gratitude, I wasn't into, I have buck teeth. I can't show my smile. I wasn't into the self-pity part. I was elevated up and high above. And they naturally, which is crazy, but it's how I had an expression of a healing, they naturally went in. And so I've never had braces, and these are my teeth.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. They're pretty good. I'll keep them.
I like the gratitude. I practiced it quite a bit, but at one time, at a low point in my life, I remember going to bed and I experienced some depression, and that was something I had read. I was reading a book on happiness, and I was so focused on the things that weren't working, but I wasn't thinking about how abundantly I was surrounded with so many blessings. And that really helped me get through, some dark times.
I'm sure. Because we feel warm and cozy and loved, don't we, when we're using gratitude tools. I recommend people do it as their morning practice. See, we want to start our day so that we are set and we're solid and we are in control of our day, not something else is in control of us. So create a morning ritual or a morning practice. I recommend a few minutes of meditation to clear your thought. I recommend your love work, which is the I love you in the mirror, and or some other guided meditations, and journaling. Releasing anything that's bothering you or that may be bothering you, and then also go into gratitude, because the gratitude, as we just talked about, is what elevates us up and makes us happy and feels really delicious with us. And rituals and practices are so important. Why? Look at any athlete that's well known, any dancer, any musician. They had to invest time and practice into their craft to be as magnificent as they are. So as an individual, guess what? We have to put practice into ourselves to be magnificent as well.
Can we talk about the magazine?
Yes, love it.
I'm a photographer. Pictures are just so beautiful. And you have a lot of collaboration, it looks like, in that magazine. A lot of good information.
I'm a networker. So I just want to share a few things here. As far as business, as far as community or spiritual, whatever you are. If you're not spiritual and, you're a realist or, a pessimist, you've got your own people to hang out with, and that's super cool. So embrace them. It's really about embracing community. And so when I came into this line of work, I heard, as I like to listen to, messages that come through, that I was a messenger of messages. And so what that meant was my shows and everything that I did, because I'm a media host, I do both radio and I also do video work, that everything I brought out was to support not just my messages, but others. And so my first several shows, my first show was actually a sex show where people would call in with information on sexual positions or medical stuff, which I wasn't a doctor, I was a nurse, and I could give as accurately with a disclaimer, as
this
possible.
Is for entertainment.
Yes, exactly. And also, people would call in with questions. What do you do in this kind of relationship or that kind of relationship? So it was very cool. My next show was Mia, the Passion Muse, and that's what I was branded for many years, because my whole concept in love was to bring passion into our life, to make us enjoy life so much more. This is before I got into the whole, create a life that loves you back type of thing. But the messages that I got from people when I would interview them about who they were and their greatness that really changed the world, the power in that is you're connecting with people. You're being a connector. So when I announced that I was going to open a magazine way back in 2014, I tell you, like 200 or 300 people wrote me. I had more than 60 or 70 people on the line, and I had a constant team of 58 people. So I had 50 writers, plus I had all my my editors of each section, and our graphic artist and our editors, and who would edit out the actual content that came in the articles, and me who organized it all together. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. This is where I want to say, if you have a passion on anything in life, oh my God, you have to do it. You literally have to do it, because we're here to experience life. And when I'm all excited.
I can tell you are like, you've got this incredible energy. It's contagious.
And when you love something, and I also can laugh at myself too, and so when you are excited about something, we really have to do this in life. We have to do what excites us. We really do, because if we don't, we're not living our best life that we want to live. And so that's why I do so many things, but I do them with the ability of being able to accomplish them. So I'm not one of those people that says, here's something and pay such and such, and then they don't deliver. It's like, here's a magazine. Who wants to write? Let's get this shit going.
I sense a driver. I sense a driver personality.
Yeah. Well, apparently in the human design, there's only 8% of us who are manifestors. And manifestors is just what you said, like the creator that gets it done. Yep. So I am a creator that gets it done. But we have to look back on who we were when we were younger, right? Did you have something in you, that drive? A lot of people say, I knew what I wanted, or I knew there was greatness, but I didn't know what it was. And we don't always know until we look backwards, until we look in hindsight. Then we can see, oh, I used to please people, or, oh, I would get that done, or, oh, I did that, or I lived that. We can identify who we are by looking back into our past. It's very cool stuff.
That reminds me of the precept in NLP, there is no failure, just feedback. And a lot of times people give up when things don't go perfect. And when you get real intentional about doing something like a big project like a magazine, it's not always perfect.
Nothing's perfect, but there's always a solution. See, that's the cool thing. There's a solution for every single thing. We started a documentary on love. We have a book coming out in August on love called Love Revolution. But I started this documentary, and people who want to participate in the love movement that I have, the Love Revolution, I take everybody and anybody that has commitment, drive, and will actually do it. Because we're here to change the world. We're not here to just play, literally. So there's amazing stuff. So I said, you know what? When this book comes out, and I got a small publishing company to publish us, and I'm like, when this book comes out, we're coming out with a documentary too on love. Well, it turns out that it does have to be pushed. We're working on it. So the release date isn't until the end of the year, because we really changed it into something of quality. And I'm like, well, I don't have $1 million or $2 million to do this documentary, but we're going to get it done. We are going to get it done. For the documentary, I mean, it's like I haven't even done a fundraising campaign or anything like that. I know that this project will get done. Why? Because mine and 26 plus other people's hearts are set on having this actually come to fruition. We have to change our world into love so that we actually can have a world to live in, because with all the wars going on and taking children from mercenaries to kill people in Africa, we don't have, as humans, we don't have enough insight into ourselves to love ourselves enough that we love somebody else just as much as we love ourselves, so we're not going to hurt them. That's the whole movement of the spiritual love, or the love mastery that I'm doing, that I'm working in. Because if we can't change ourselves to love somebody else greatly, guess what? We're going to remain in the crap we're in, and it's getting worse. So love breaks down borders. It breaks down countries. We're going to be eventually, it's going to probably take about 500 to 700 years, because conscious awareness has to come up and support all this. So that takes time, and that takes teaching. But there will be no governments. There will be one government. It'll be one unified world, and there will be states, and they will be called the state of Africa, the state of America, the state of Canada. This is the only way in which we can stop all the chaos that's happening. And it's only so that we can support each other in love and conscious awareness going forward. It's for no other reason. It's for no human gain of money, of anything. It's for the existence of humanity and the planet that we live on. It's a big mission to take on, but you know what? Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, somebody's got to roll up their sleeves and get it done.
And there's been beautiful people before us. Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa. Everybody is doing things in the way in which they best can support it. And that's fabulous. If each and every man and woman, I'll say man and woman because you're interviewing me, but just think about it. If half of the population, so women, if each woman took on a project, because we can do more than one thing at once, right? So if each woman took on a project that would literally change somebody's life or something, guess what? Our world would be so incredibly different. When the Dalai Lama said 20 years ago, the Western woman is going to change the world, well, hello, what do you think? It's because of the awareness that we have. The Western woman isn't any more special than any other woman or loved anymore. It's only because we're at a space and time in history where we can actually step into that. Again, religion. Religion stops us. There are women who are being killed and their heads cut off because they're being seen by somebody without their burqa on or something like that, So it's literally, love is very powerful. It's the opposite of hate and anger and fear. It literally is the opposite of fear, because fear is what creates hate and anger.
I would love to have you on again for a whole show just on the spiritual elite. Just as a teaser, what can you share about the spiritual elite?
Well, it's pretty fabulous. So my belief is that each of us have a soul. We're connected to our creator. Whatever you want to call the creator, we're connected to God, creator, source, whatever, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. We're created to one energy. And so that is magnificent to us. We have these beautiful gifts that some people wonder why some are more attuned to hearing things or feeling things or knowing things than others. And I say that it's our conscious awareness that opens up these gifts. So you can call it raising your vibration. You can call it elevating, whatever you want to call it. It's about being open to it. And as an infinite spiritual being, we all have these. So here's a term that I don't like to use, but psychic abilities are what our gifts are. And there's 17 of them. And so if we actually go through raising who we are, re-raising and love who we are, expanding that out, what happens is we get this stuff like I'm clairvoyant. I'm several things, but I'm clairvoyant. I'm also a medium. And so I can feel and see things in my body. And I've explained it to one of the people that broke up with me because it scared the crap out of him. I tell him that I've got these memories. I call them, we call them past life experiences, where I know that I'm connected to somebody. It's not a memory. We all have this, but some people are close to that. It's not a memory of, we went to Disneyland and we did this, and this. It's a memory of a certain moment in time, a certain experience. And sometimes it's built out further and sometimes it's not. But these gifts are really beautiful. And so as we become aware, things open up. And so what I do is I step in as a priestess and I can identify who has different gifts. Now, if I just looked at you, sometimes I can, but I really have to, get into a conversation and feel into you and be in that moment. Because when I channel, I'm channeling through to see what someone is. I have trained many mediums where they cross people over on the other side, or they actually now can do stage work literally because they know how to work with all the spirits on the other side. When a spirit on the other side knows that you can hear them, guess what? You're their new best friend. And so we have to also learn how to communicate with the supernatural, if you want to call it that, the other side, because we can actually tell them, just wait your turn. You're next, wait. Because they're so excited, they're jumping around to be seen and to be heard. It's energy, there's so much that's involved. It's hard to get into it in just this, few little bits of minutes here, but it's a beautiful experience of who we are. Everything is energy. Science is proving that. Einstein talks about it and everything. I work with people on their farms to grow same amount of seeds, but more produce or product. Weather. I work with weather as well with people for their farms, or even dissipating the energy out of hurricanes. There's something, and I know I can hear naysayers right now going, really? You guys can? I'm not the only one, guys. A lot of ancient early man used to do this kind of stuff. So it's literally about connecting to who you are on an earthly level besides a spiritual level. So it's really beautiful work.
How can somebody find you? Your website, Facebook page? How do they contact you?
Well, Mia Saenz is not as uncommon as I thought. So I used to be Mia Saenz Whitmore for years. And when I remarried 5 years ago, I didn't take on his name because I just kept my name so that people could find me. So you can either go to miasaenz.com, which is my love site, my spiritual love site, or Business and Money Mentors, which is my business site. I have a partner in there. We also have Great Sex After 35. That's another one of our sites. We also have my business partner and I do a lot of stuff. She doesn't work on my love stuff, but everything else we've created together. We also have a women's wellness. So it's the Women's Wellness Formula. That site's not up yet or open yet, but it is there. And so we teach opening Pandora's box, which is about the women, beautiful body parts that they don't know about. Sex ed, sex ed your mama never taught you. That's another course. A lot of things to support women and to support the divine feminine. But I do work with men even on the self-love aspect, because the self-love is so powerful, as we talked before, about changing the psyche of who we are. It's about the psychology of the human being, and to honor and love that part of us. I think that's it. Or you can write me at miasaenz.com and ask me anything and I'll answer you. We'll direct you to the different places.
And I do have a copy of the Mirror step-by-step guide that I think it's a free ebook on your website.
It is.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff.
Do you have some trainings coming up? Are you giving any talks anywhere? What else is coming up?
Oh, goodness. We have a Releasing Shame challenge, a 30-day challenge to releasing shame. We also have a book coming out, I think next year, about releasing shame. We are working on the actual structure right now. My partner just sold a really big book, and you guys will all see about it in the next, it'll be announced like in a week or so in the news, and then it'll be, really big. And so it's very, very cool because now our work is elevated to a different space, individually and then jointly. Amazing stuff. So we both are, and our work together is about supporting men and women, primarily women, because men are, we are raised that the little boy can't cry and that he has to be strong, when really, if he looked inside and was able to accept a lot of the pieces, just like the girls have to do, things would change. Yeah. And we're not judging you guys. I want you to know that there's so much I just want to say this. Can I say this, David?
Please do.
Okay. So the whole Me Too thing is terrible, the way in which it's gone. We're not here to persecute men. We're not here to harm men. We're here to celebrate men. Women, we need men as much as they need us. It takes two to procreate, and if that's all you're interested in, you still need a man. But it's far more than that. We also birth them, we carry them, and we love them. So that's a big mission of mine too. I actually am trying to reach out to one of the best known mainstream sex educators, relationship educators, to see if he'll do a book with me on the whole Me Too phenomenon. So as you can see, I'm not afraid to reach my dreams and to ask for things. And I want people to know that each and every one of you can do the exact same thing. It's about empowering who you are within yourself to understand that you can live boldly. When somebody wrote me that I was bold and edgy, I loved that. I wasn't insulted. And then somebody wrote my sister, who she doesn't talk to me because I'm spiritual and she's a born-again Christian and I love her to pieces. They wrote her and they said, "Is that your sister, Gigi?" I saw it on Facebook. "Is that your sister, Gigi, who's so bold and edgy with Bella Mia magazine?" I was like, interesting. The pot is stirring,
Thank you so much for being here today, Mia. It's been a pleasure, and I would love to have you again on the show anytime. Thank you so much. I love your energy, and I love everything about you. I am looking forward to also reading your book and the podcast.
Thank you, David. That was awesome. Super. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today with Awaken the Mind.
Relax.
Hosted by David Juhas.
Awaken the mind. You need to understand. If you can't, you must. And if you must, you can. Now that I got you, let me put you in a trance. Got you feeling hypnotic. Your mind, let me massage it. Your thoughts are getting quiet. Your stress subsiding. You starting to see images, but it ain't no mirages. Think it's time to calibrate. Take a breath and concentrate. Get into your subconscious. Time to feel the energy, the brain waves. Let's go deep into your memory. Beware of self. Let the worries melt. All you see is you and you don't see no one else. Auditory digital, talking to yourself. It might seem bizarre, a feeling you never felt. This is your time to shine. Awaken the mind, the NLP and hypnosis guide. Yeah, come on.